week 3 of the fantasy football season, and he has a few wide receivers I would look to start this week. The first guy's Thiel and the Minnesota Vikings. So far the first couple weeks of the season have been pretty good for Thiel, but not for the Vikings as a whole, where they're 0-2 to start the season. But this week he's in a good matchup, in my opinion, versus the Seattle Seahawks, who last week we saw get shredded, even though it was by Derrick Henry in the run instead of the pass game. I think Thielen once again could find the end zone this week. So the first 2 games of the season for Thielen, week 1 at Cincinnati, 9 catches, 92 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And week 2 with Arizona, 6 catches, 39 yards, and a touchdown. Seattle, I think he goes for 70, 80 yards and finds the end zone in this one. And right here, this is a must-win game for the Vikings as well. They don't want to fall to 0-3. So right here, I think a lot of force feeding and a lot of opportunities for Thielen to have a good fantasy day. The next wide receiver I would start this week is JaMarr Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals. So the rookie so far, very impressive the first 2 weeks of the season and of his NFL career. Week 1 versus Minnesota, 5 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown. And week 2 at Chicago, 2 catches, 54 yards, and a touchdown on 4 targets. So right here, week 3, another tough matchup versus Cincinnati at the Pittsburgh Steelers, where I think this Steelers team, they're going to do damage in this one and get to Joe Burrow early and often. We saw Burrow struggle versus the Chicago Bears in week 2. But right here, JaMarr Chase, one of the quickest wide receivers in all of pro football. And once again, him and Burrow, I've mentioned many times in the videos, have played together in LSU, and right here it's definitely been a factor. And right now he's comfortable with Chase throwing up that deep ball, 50-50 chance. And so far Chase, he's been 2 for 2 on the season with that big playability and finding the end zone. And once again here at Pittsburgh, if Cincinnati wants to pull this game out, they're going to need some big plays from Chase, and I think he might find one in this ball game once again at Pittsburgh, and I like him as a start. The next wide receiver is Deebo Samuel of the San Francisco 49ers. So Deebo, when this guy's healthy, he's one of the most talented and versatile wide receivers in all of the NFL here is Deebo. In the first 2 weeks of the season, he's been a fantasy stud. Week 1 at Detroit, 12 targets, 9 catches, 189 yards, a touchdown, and a fumble loss. In week 2 at Philly, still a pretty solid game, especially in PPR format. 6 catches, 93 yards on 8 targets. And here, week 3, it's going to be a shootout, I think, between Green Bay and San Francisco, where they're going to have to force feed Deebo. He's going to have to make some plays. And obviously, Brandon Ayuk is the wide receiver that's not contributing or doing anything for San Francisco. So right now, the offense consists of Deebo and George Kittle, obviously, is the main 2 targets. And their running game's already in shambles with a lot of injuries to Eli Mitchell, who's banged up already now. Hasty's banged up. Jeffrey Wilson Jr. on the PUP. So in this ball game, it wouldn't surprise me to see Jimmy G throw the football 40 or 50 times just to keep up with this high-powered offense over there in Green Bay after what we saw them do on Monday night versus Detroit. But right here, Deebo Samuel, he's a must-start receiver this week. The next wide receiver is Devonta Smith of the Philadelphia Eagles. So the Eagles, they got a great matchup on Monday Night Football at their division foe, the Dallas Cowboys. So Smith in week 1, he looked good with 6 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown. But week 2 in San Francisco as a whole, this Philadelphia Eagle team just didn't do anything really, only scoring 11 points in that ball game. And he only had 2 catches for 16 yards, but 7 targets, which is obviously really good here for Devonta Smith. And so far, he's been targeted 15 times in the first 2 ball games of the season. And here, week 3, he's got a slam dunk matchup at Dallas. They're a team that could get beat anywhere, deep, intermediate routes, middle of the field. And right here, I think Devonta Smith goes for a big game. And I could see from him 80 or 90 yards and possibly 1 or even 2 touchdowns in this one. This is just the type of game I think it could have in the matchups we've seen over the years with Dallas and Philly. High-scoring games and just players having huge fantasy days. And I think Smith's definitely capable of that this week. In the 5th and final receiver, I look to start Courtland Sutton of the Denver Broncos. So Courtland Sutton was a record start last week, and he came through with a huge ball game. 9 catches, 159 yards on 12 targets. And right here in week 3, another good matchup here for Sutton and the Denver Broncos versus the New York Jets, that obviously they have trouble stopping teams and they can't get out of their own way, is the rookie Zach Wilson. So right here, I like a lot of Denver Broncos this week. guys to just have good ball games in general. And right here, Sutton, I think he'll hit the 100-yard mark once again with 6 or 7 catches in this game. Obviously, with Jerry Jeudy out, more of a workload and more target share for Sutton. And I think we see it once again this week. So that's a few wide receivers I would start here for week 3 of the fantasy football season.